Magazine.
Michael, how are you this evening?
I'm doing really well. How you doing, David? Thanks for having
Um,
me.
oh no, thanks for talking with me. I say this evening, you're on the West Coast. It's still afternoon where you're at. I apologize.
No, I'm on the East Coast, so we're good.
Are you
We're
on the East
actually
Coast?
great. Yeah, we're getting late
Ah,
afternoon here. Yeah,
that
almost
sounds great.
almost evening coffee time. Not quite yet.
There you go. So we're here today to talk about Ghost Game. This is your latest endeavor. It's coming to us from Dread Films. I think we got a theatrical rollout on the 18th and then VOD on the 22nd.
Yes, sir.
So I got to know what brought you to Ghost Game. Of course, Michael, we shouldn't have to introduce who you are, but of course, you're the most famous corner dweller in all of horror history, right? Anyone who doesn't know him from looking at him in his face. This, of course, is Michael from the Blair Witch Project. Boy, what a life changer that film must have been, huh?
Yeah, it was something. It's interesting. We just celebrated our 25th anniversary. It's been fun to talk about, and the fact that it's still people just still want to hear about it is pretty humbling and really cool. So yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah, but that it's kind of weird because it ties into Ghost Game in a way because this kind of has that found footage vibe. Although it's not a found footage film, it
yeah.
still relies kind of on that. Is that kind of what attracted you to this project, or what was it that brought you around?
For me, it was mo mainly the story, right? I really thought it was a really great idea and pretty clever, and not realizing that I guess maybe this actually exists in the world somewhere, this what they call frogging, which I hadn't heard of. But people, breaking and entering into people's houses just for the sake of how long can we be here, filming them without them noticing is sounds so like violating and gross to me, and just sounds like a great setup for a horror film. And then I read the script, was introduced to Jill Gevorgizian, who's the director, and she's great. And I had this conversation with her, and I just felt like we really hit it off and connected over the story and sort of over who this character is and sort of how she saw him. And it was just a combination of those things.
And was this filmed here in the States? Was it
It was filmed in Maryland, actually. So it brought me back to Maryland with a couple of familiar faces that I'd worked with over the years, which was also a nice thing to be involved in. It's a small film community down there, and they do a nice job of making these pretty cool horror films down there. So
Yeah, well, Jill, of course, the stylist kind of brought her to prominence, and I think this film is going to really cement her reputation in the horror genre. I
yeah, I
really
hope
do.
so. And I'm glad you mentioned that because I hadn't seen the stylist, but I read the script and no Jill was attached and was maybe looking at me. And so I watched the stylist and I was like, holy, I really want to work with her. She's like, I love that young energy. That was her first feature. This is her second. And I just think it's cool to be hooked up with, talented young people who are, I want to say maybe fans first. I think a lot of good comes out of being fans of films, and certainly with this community of horror, like fans of the horror film genre are so passionate and just creative. And I think it's so cool to see her growing in her career.
So tell me a little bit about again, we don't want to do any spoiler stuff here. As you said, you mentioned this film is about frogging. This is about people who purposely break into other people's homes and attempt to live there as long as they can
Yep.
undetected. I mean, that's kind of the basic premise.
Yep.
So, and again, without spoiling anything, let's talk a little bit about your character and your place in this story.
Yeah, so I'm the guy who is sort of starting a new life, new family, new wife with my stepdaughter, and we're gonna make a go of it in this old mansion that's sort of been abandoned for a while that they bought, and he's trying to make it as a writer. He's had some problems in the past with an old book that came out, and he was sort of uncovered as maybe not being who he says he was, and but he's gonna turn over a new leaf, and he's got this new family, and he's gonna make it all work. And so to me, it's this guy who's just trying to make his life work and put some pressure on himself to, make some money and succeed and have a happy family and live in the suburbs and live happily ever after. And it doesn't go that way, but that's kind of who I saw.
Imagine that. What are the
Yeah,
chances of that happening? It
yeah,
wouldn't go
yeah,
well.
yeah.
What did you find the biggest challenge in this shoot? How long were you actually on set for this one?
I was there, I think I want to say like not much, like 7 or 8 days, not many days, but what was challenging was mostly overnights. I think we turned around. I think we did one late afternoon and then we were in overnights the whole time, which is to me not challenging. It's challenging at the beginning and at the end, but there's a different energy to shooting overnights, and I guess people who are doing this can kind of relate to that. It's fun, it's exhausting. There's like that, to me, that kind of creative kick that comes in a different way because the world is askew, right? You're up doing things at 3, 4, 5 in the morning and trying to get them done before the sun kind of says you can't do this anymore, you know? So you're racing against the clock like any film set. I think the house was pretty complicated. I think they did a great job of shooting the house. Justin Brooks is a phenomenal DP, and working with Jill together, they really made the house become a character, but that had its own challenges where are you putting the camera? Where is everybody going to be? It's pretty, any small independent film is going to have its challenges. I'd argue any large film has its challenges, but they have more resources. So for a tiny budget, I think they did an amazing job, even with the said challenges.
Yeah, at least you weren't out wandering around in the woods this time,
Yeah,
right?
could be worse.
Could always be worse, right?
Useless map.
Well, I think this is a great film. Again, doing these before the films come out makes it tough because I don't want to spoil anything, and there are definitely some shocks and surprises in this film that
Mhm.
it needs to be watched on preferably on a dark, stormy night. I would say would be
Awesome.
the
Yeah, I
best way
appreciate it.
to see this one.
Yeah.
Um, the theatrical aspect of this, do you have any information on that? Where will people be able to see it theatrically if they
I
want to
want to
catch it?
say Los Angeles, Kansas City. There's another city. It's pretty limited. If you can, if you see it pop up, please check it out. Like, small film needs you, small indie film needs you, and theaters need you right now. So
Yeah,
wherever it is, I'd love for you to go out there and get after it. That would be cool. I don't think New York, which is me, which is unfortunate. We're doing a screening in Maryland. That's more of I think that's more of like a four casting crew. So
yeah.
it'd be nice to see it on the big screen. I got to see it at Panic Fest in Kansas City when it played at their festival. That was so I was very happy with it. It worked pretty darn well. Audiences seemed to like it. So
Yeah, the early reviews out of Panic Fest were all very favorable for it,
yeah,
so
yeah,
that's very exciting. I've already seen it, but I'll hold off on my review until the appropriate time, as they
yeah.
say.
Cool, cool, cool.
Michael, I can't thank you enough for taking time to chat with me a little bit about this. We're gonna get the fans out to check this one out again. It is going to be in theaters limited. Check your local area, hunt it down, find it on the 18th. On the 22nd, we'll all be able to see it on VOD.
Yeah, appreciate it,
Ghost
David,
Game.
so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.